We care about the homeowner and we care about the environment. We are trying to lower emissions, into the atmosphere. We're trying to build it. We're conscious. We're eco-conscious. We care about sustainability. We care about, the toxins that are in your home. We don't want VO2 emissions going off while you're living in your home, all of the things. So the real heart of my message is that we care.
Welcome to Home Green Homes Podcast. I am Izumi Tanaka, a green home advisor and a green realtor. Here I invite a variety of experts in the world of green homes and have conversations about how we can all live in healthy, resilient, and efficient homes. My guests provide insight in a wide range of topics, from designing, building, and living in green homes, purchasing or financing green homes and improvements, to how we can live to reduce the negative environmental impact from the way we live. My goal is to inspire and inform you about how we can make a difference in our own lives and our environment. Hi, this is Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes. I am so excited to have Leanne and Lawrence today for my podcast. And Leanne Randall and Lawrence Ramirez of Fortunate Foundation, that's their company. Fortunate Foundations builds well thought out, carefully designed homes with love. I love that. With love. The designs include a functional floor plan, tasteful finishes, and the best top-of-the-line green building technologies. They create a win-win-win because they create passive income for investors and wonderful home for the owners and reduce the impact on the earth. So Leanne and Lawrence, you can take turns and just tell me briefly who you are, what your background is, and how you ended up where you are.
Yeah, well, thank you, Izumi, for having us here. We are so excited. My name is Leanne Rendell Wortman. I'm from Alaska, and I actually grew up on a very small island commercial fishing with my father. I went on to get my biology degree and a 100-ton captain's license, and really I would say that's where I instilled my love of nature and the environment is during that time. And I met Lawrence at a real estate convention in Alaska. And we kind of joined forces, did a couple of flips, and decided to move to Austin, Texas, a place where neither one of us had ever been. It took us 6 weeks of camping and driving through Canada all the way through the United States to get here. But since we've been here, we started building new construction green homes and have just really fallen in love with the city and the community here. I'll let you give yours now.
Absolutely. That was a great introduction. Thank you. My name is Lawrence. I'm also from Alaska. I've got a background since I was a teenager working in construction. Later on in life, decided to go to school to become an electrician. So I started my career in the oil fields of Alaska on the North Slope, where I cut my teeth, became a journeyman electrician, and worked my way up to the role of electrical and instrumentation field engineer, which had me working with staff, owners, and third-party verification and different interests for industrial projects. At a certain point, I realized in my career that I kind of felt like I had topped out a little bit, and the idea of being gone away from home 8 months out of the year and staring at oil derricks just didn't sit well with me. So I figured I had gotten the education I needed at that point and decided to start my own business, or at least pause to see what would come next. As Leanne mentioned, it was us investing in real estate together, where I was able to combine my passion for construction, my understanding of electrical systems, and along with Leanne's love for nature. And we, have metamorphosed into a company that builds homes that's conscientious of both. And so that's kind of how we've gotten our start.
That's a great story. But why Texas though? I mean, you guys were in Alaska, and I can understand that you may want to come to a different part of the country, but why did you guys pick Texas and Austin?
I would say it's a little bit of intuition. There was somebody in Austin that we knew, and he said that the market was great down here. So we kind of got that little bit of intel, but we honestly didn't do a whole lot of research before moving here. It was kind of a leap of faith and intuition. Would you agree, Lawrence?
I would. We had some understanding. We knew the market was good. We knew that the fishbowl was bigger, so to speak. We really felt limited by the size of the market in Alaska and the seasonal ability to build there. And so we thought it sounded like a good fit. At the time, though, when we were moving down, this was right around when Hurricane Harvey had hit.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that was the devastating hurricane that came through and just really flooded, significant portions of Houston.
Hmm.
We had actually scheduled to do an investment seminar. They called it a boot camp, where we would meet other investors and we would kind of go over different facets of the business. It was scheduled to go off in Houston, and that was actually the first place we went when we arrived in Texas. After visiting Houston, we knew that we had an opportunity to come do business in Austin, and we figured before we, set up to grow roots, we'd survey both. We came to Austin and fell in love with, just its real affinity for nature. It's homey and very artistic and inspirational.
And green. And why when I say green, I mean you drive down I-35 and there's trees on both sides. Whereas in Houston, it's kind of more concrete and
Yes,
skyscrapers and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yes.
So I love nature. So I was drawn to the trees and everything here.
yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
there's definitely, and we found that we paralleled with, what it was that was important to us in the community here already. And so we decided to stay and do business in Austin, and I'm sure glad we did.
Right.
It,
I have been to both Houston and Austin, so I know the difference between,
Mhm.
like driving on the freeway was a whole different experience driving in Houston as opposed to Austin. But, describing what you have just not about Austin, like with a lot of trees and nature. I mean, there are plenty of other cities around the countries that are probably feasible to do what you're doing. So I'm just really curious. Did you even look at any other cities at all, or it was like you said, it was that intuitive, just like you just made a beeline to Texas?
for the most part, yeah. I
Yeah.
think we find, we kind of listen to which way the wind is blowing.
Mm-hmm.
That from a personal philosophy that we believe that the universe looks out for us, and
Mm-hmm.
that it had put the pieces in front of us to go in that direction. And we weren't interested in questioning that, wondering if so much it was, quantitatively going to be the best move. We just believed in what we were being inspired to do and said, well, that's which way the road leads. Let's go. And
Mhm.
so that was all it really took.
That's really inspiring to hear. I like hearing that. So were you always from the beginning, were you always doing the green buildings? Was it always something that you were determined to do?
I would say that yes, that it's what we always wanted to do. Now it's really hard to do on flips, is what we found. So in the beginning, we started doing flips, and it was hard to achieve any sort of green building ratings on those.
Mhm.
The second house was a flip, and of course, we put solar panels on them, and that was in Alaska. I would say it wasn't as well received in Alaska. Do you think so? It seems like people weren't really enamored by the solar panels up there. Partially why we wanted to move. So after Alaska, moving down here, it has been, we found that building new construction, it's much more feasible to incorporate, especially when you can do it from the planning phase, right, Lawrence,
Mhm.
where we we kind of like architecturally, make the home more energy efficient, and we can put all brand new energy efficient systems in the home.
Mm.
And that's where I'll let Lawrence go into that, because he's the builder and can tell about everything that we put in the home to make it energy efficient. And people in Austin love the environment and are a little bit more progressive that way, to where it has been really, really well received here.
Right.
Yeah.
And plus, I would think that in Alaska, when you don't have a lot of sunshine for the half of the year,
Yeah.
do you think that might be one of the reasons that people may not be so keen to put in the solar panels?
Yeah, I do. I think solar panels are one of those things that, they're just, they meet their challenges when you're that far north. Uh,
Yeah.
to your question about have we always been inspired to do it, I think from what Leanne was just saying, that the answer is yes. Even though we are building homes in Alaska, which also is an oil dependent economy, we're always interested in doing renewable energies.
Mhm.
Right.
There's been some great research done in they call it the bush out in the area of Alaska that's not tied to any electric grids. It's villages and things of that nature. And they've really studied doing microgrid technologies. And so there's plenty of nature enthusiasts in Alaska, people who love the great outdoors, of course. And it presents its own challenges for people to learn from there. With that being said, there's an abundance of sun in Texas, so it's much
Yeah.
more feasible to do that
Yeah.
technology here.
Yeah.
And so, we've learned how to incorporate as many of the different, I would say, moderate or the milder kind of installations of electrical systems that we can to really just kind of come at it from every direction we can. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
to Leanne's point, the different technologies that we try to put into a home, they could include solar panels. They also may include things like a heat pump water heater, which runs off a condenser pump,
Mhm.
heat pump HVAC system. And so we really try to see how we can incorporate things that work in harmony with each other to ultimately generate a larger impact.
Right. So, I have questions here prepared, but I'm kind of wanting to jump to a different question. So, are most of the homes that you're building all electric, or do you still have gas?
So we are actually phasing out gas right now.
Okay.
In the beginning, we realized that there is a certain inefficiency that comes with an electric stove, and
Mhm.
so if you're looking at the long tailpipe, I mean, where are you getting your electricity from? What's the most efficient use? Now, one of the next things that we're looking at doing is going to all electric. Just because we know it's cleaner, and if we're
Right.
starting to try and couple it with things like solar panel or
Mhm.
on-site battery storage, or even induction ranges and things of that nature. There's a way to problem solve that. And
Mhm.
so we know ultimately the goal is to remove the petroleum, to get rid of
Right.
the gas product in the house, and reduce the carbon emission of it. And so we have now phased that out just as recently.
Oh, great. Yeah,
Yeah.
in California, we do have already an ordinance where any new construction homes has to be net zero.
Wow.
And I think we're also moving very strongly towards electric, electrification. So I mean, I perceive Texas as fairly conservative in terms of,
Mhm.
Mhm.
environmental issues and things like that. So how is that for you to be working in Texas in that market to be promoting, you know, the
Mhm.
renewable energy? I mean, we know so well about what happened recent months in the snowstorm. So
Right.
how do you feel any resistance in Texas, or do you feel like you have to fight against the stream?
The answer is really no.
Okay.
And this is, perhaps why we listen to the universe when it tells us where to go. We landed in the blue heart of Texas,
Yeah.
is
Right.
a good way to look at it, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
The type of construction that we strive to do is very well received here.
Mhm.
Even with that being said, I think things that, like this recent snowstorm and the failure of ERCOT
Mhm.
here in Texas really, kind of opens people's eyes to what's going on with the climate. And
Mhm.
so, even though it may be a conservative state, I feel like there's certain things that, just kind of transcend politics. And I think more and more people realize, when Portland's hitting 115 or, Texas, Austin, Texas is freezing,
Yeah,
right? Things are getting out of whack. And so we've been very well received. People embrace the idea of it. And so I feel like it's getting easier every day to do business like in states like Texas.
mhm,
And I would
mhm.
say beyond that, people are actually searching us out and wanting to buy homes from us because of what we're doing.
That's
Yeah, people love the fact that we pull solar panels, especially since, the electric grid and
mhm.
recent things that happened with ERCOT, and that we're doing not only battery backup, but we're actually trying to do battery solar and then battery primary, right?
That's one of the next steps we're
Yeah,
doing.
that's something
But
we're working on.
so I mean, it's I think it's the right time in our lifetimes to be a green builder,
Hmm.
to be somebody who really preaches to that, philosophy of trying to be good stewards. The net zero is a goal of ours. We're looking at going to do passive house, which is another very high degree of
Mhm.
energy efficiency rating. We're actually building our first passive house now. It's in the design phase, and
Not
so
only our first passive house, but the Texas or Austin's first passive house.
for
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's not the FIAS, which is the American version, but the
Yeah,
international German version.
German
And
Sure.
version.
so that's right. And so, yeah, there isn't another one. We're trying to be the first to do it. And
Mhm.
so,
Amazing.
Yep,
So
pioneering.
it sounds like you guys are the ones that are trailblazing basically in your market. Do you feel like you are differentiating yourself from other developers
yeah.
because of what you are doing?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, other developers definitely try to claim green building. We see it a lot, but they aren't going to the extent that we are. And I feel like what I try to do, because I'm kind of head of social media and marketing, is I try to really go into detail about all the steps that we take. It goes all the way back to planning. Like our homes are architecturally designed to be green on top of all the other systems that we're putting in the home, all the extra insulation that we're putting on the home,
Mhm.
solar panels. We go the whole 9 yards and above and beyond. So I every week I'm putting something more specific about different systems or different architecture that we're doing with the home, and then I kind of give an overall picture of everything that is all encompassing as far as buying a home from us and what that entails.
That's amazing. So this brings me to the second question I have prepared. So how does your process work? And you are now doing exclusively new construction, is that correct? So then how do you find the lots to
Mhm.
build on? And what is your process and what's the criteria of looking for them?
Yeah. So it's very market specific,
Hmm.
even down to the county that you may be, working within, what the building codes are.
Right.
For us, honestly, we're able to find properties off the MLS at this point. Um, and the vetting process, I think, is, it's a bit thorough when you have to go in, you have to analyze, are there any easements on the property? Are there any restrictive covenants on the property? Is it meeting your minimum square footages? And then you look into other things like what are the, economic factors that are, making this a good play or a bad play? Are you ahead of the curve too far? Things of that nature. And so you have to be aware of the economics there as well. For us as a management team goes, we don't want to get spread too thin. So we start to look geographically. How does our management team be efficient with their time, not driving all over town to get to different projects? And so we try to keep them kind of geographically centered as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we look at all those factors. We look at our build costs. We look at any unique challenges on the property. Maybe anything we want to accentuate. Maybe we have a great view. We're on top of a hill, so we want to do a rooftop deck on this property, right? And so, we'll look at extenuating circumstances like that may increase costs. And then we do a deal analysis. We take into account realistic timelines, and what we feel the market's going to offer for the home at the time of sale, and go from there.
Hmm.
And so,
Now,
and that's,
so do you look for unbuilt or undeveloped lots, or do you actually find lots with tear downs? And what
oh,
both?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And so a lot of what we've done when we first started growing our business was, how do we protect our investments, right? We don't have the ability to sustain major economic changes, and we don't want to get into a play that doesn't sell. And so how do we, as a startup company, protect ourselves? And
Right.
so what we looked at from an investment standpoint was keep it under $1 million, which is high for our market,
Mm-hmm.
and keep it within 15 minutes of downtown Austin. So, in case something changes, we know we're insulated from the fringes of the market, which
Right.
will feel the depression more. And so, when we did that, obviously anything within 15 minutes of downtown Austin's been built on, right? And so
Right.
at that point, we're buying homes that are, basically, home to raccoons, perhaps, or something. Right? These are homes that you could remodel them, but it wouldn't be the best way to do the development. Most of the homes in the area that we're looking at have been around for 50 plus years. They weren't built to last, which is something that's kind of a lesson learned for us. I mean, as we go to do, and we're looking at passive and ICF houses, we expect the lifetime of our homes to go well over a century,
Yeah.
right? But these homes were built back in the day with very minimal standards, and they've just exhausted their lifetimes at
Right.
that point. And
Right.
so we did, when we first got to Austin, remodel one of those, but like Leanne mentioned, it's really hard to get a home built to those standards to come up to new energy standards. So what we do is we actually, if the home is salvageable and it's on a pier and beam, we'll look for a buyer. And a lot of people would like to buy these things and then kind of put them out to pasture and refurbish them and turn them into other investment properties. And so we have had people come in and put beams underneath the house and roll them off the property. If it's not a good candidate for that, then we look at working with people who do recycling of their construction waste.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we already do in our other new construction projects.
Mm-hmm.
And so we work with the company that actually has a sorting and filtering station, where they pull everything out, and I think they've got an
80,
87%
yeah, it's 85 to 87.
recycling rate.
And they
And so
use Zen Robotics to go
Oh,
through
wow.
and recycle. Yeah.
exactly. And
Mm.
so, even though the home's not going to be able to be reused or upcycled to another place, it's getting its materials sorted and
Trying to keep it
recycled.
out
And
of the
so
Yeah.
landfill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't
Oh,
landfill it.
much,
That's
much better than just dumping in the landfill.
Yeah.
exactly.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the better way to do it. So.
And so do you certify your homes with any green building standards? And there are a number of different certification programs out there. Do you ever certify any of your properties that you
Well,
build?
right now, pretty much what we're doing on every single home is getting an Austin Energy Green Building 5-star rating.
That's great.
And so
Mhm.
that's what we've spent the last 3 years figuring out how to systematize.
I see.
And it was a heavy lift, but now we're very familiar with the process, and we're able to make good judgment calls all the way back to the design phase and set ourselves up for success there.
We're the first ones to be able to do that on a production level.
Oh,
It's
wow.
not a custom home. Yeah.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Is
That
that
goes.
a stringent process? Like, for instance, LEED is very, very comprehensive and complex to get
Yeah.
certified. And then,
HGB was the genesis for LEED, actually.
oh, wow, that's
Yes,
great.
yes.
Yeah. And now I just sold a home that has Pearl certification, which is out of East Coast, but they are very cooperative certification program where it's similar levels. Uh, you get certified and then you get bronze, gold, and bronze, silver, and gold, and I think there might be a platinum as well, but it's they provide a lot of information for the real estate agents to promote the different features, and so it really helped me a lot. So I was just curious if you find that having that certification, is it called, what is it called, Texas?
It's the Austin Energy Green
Aus-
Building.
Austin Energy.
Yes, ma'am.
Green build.
Yeah.
EGB is the
Yeah.
acronym.
Okay. Yeah. So do you find that having that certification or rating help you in terms of marketing your product?
Um, it's a difficult question to answer because of the market uh,
Mm.
fundamentals we have here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very low supply of houses here, and so what I mean, to a certain extent, you could probably throw up a stack of sticks and sell a house. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so if you're in that type of market, how do you know if your home is selling more, based on the way you've built it than the fact that people just, need homes to live in, right? Because
Right.
Austin's growing so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think the real way that we can determine that, and what we've looked to as guidance on that is, well, what is the feedback we're getting from our homeowners, and
Right.
how is the process of, our market share look as we try to go out and sell homes? And so, um, we've received many accolades from people who buy our homes, and we've gotten letters from people who said, I have waited, years to buy a home, and I've told myself I'm not buying any home but a Fortunate Foundation home.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, word of mouth is the best advertisement. And so we have people who, have bought our homes, and the next thing you know, we're getting calls from their friends or from their parents who are moving here.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And, next thing you know, we have a buyer's list of people who
Yeah.
wait for the next home that we
Yeah.
will. And so everything points to, it does help when it comes to having a standing in the market. I
Right.
think it adds to the longevity.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that it adds to the reception of green building overall, that people understand that the quality and the thought and the love that goes into that is
Mm-hmm.
something, worth, seeking out. And
Right.
so I think from a business standpoint, it's a great place to be. So,
Right.
Mhm.
So now I asked you by email that you guys are not licensed agents. So you hire a real estate agent to sell, correct?
No, not currently.
Oh,
We
really?
actually, yeah, yeah, I'm the agent, even though I'm not an agent. I'm the sales.
Ah,
No, we have so much
'cause-
traffic going to our website
mhm.
and so many people following us on social media and so many people looking for our homes that we're pre-selling, and we actually don't even like pre-selling anymore because the market is appreciating at such a great rate. We sell it right before it's completed now, and
Wow.
we don't need listing agents because there are so many buyers
Wow.
looking for a Fortunate Foundation's home.
That's great. What a
Yeah.
great news. I am so excited to hear that. So you can do the transaction without getting the agent involved.
Correct. Some
we,
of the buyers have a representative and
Mm-hmm.
agent.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them don't. But yes, the current transaction can be done. Because we have our own
contracts.
contracts. Yes.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is actually quite exciting to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know that you said that you are the head, person of marketing. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
so what are the messages that you are sending out? Or maybe now that you're so established and you have a big followers, maybe you don't even need to to try so hard. But what is the messages that you were trying to convey in the beginning to
Mhm.
really promote the idea of green homes? And what did you have to do?
I think that the heart of the message, what it really comes down to, is that we care.
Mm-hmm.
We care about the homeowner and we care about the environment.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to lower emissions, into the atmosphere. We're trying to build it. We're conscious. We're eco conscious. We care about sustainability. We care about the toxins that are in your home. We don't want VO2 emissions going off
Right,
while you're living in
right.
your home, all of the
Mm-hmm.
things. So the real heart of my message is that we care. And
Mm-hmm.
then I also go into detail about what that means, everything that how we go about building the home and everything that we put into it and all the thought,
Mm-hmm.
which is caring. So that's really what I try to portray and consistently throughout all of my message.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you found that the audience, i.e., your buyers, are really responding.
Yes, yes. We have quite a following on social media and a lot of traffic on our website. And so far, it's been extremely well received. And like what Lawrence said, we get personal letters and emails saying, thank you. We love our home. We love your team. You really took care of us. So far, it's been really, really well received. And we're getting great raving reviews.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I would also add, it does well with investors.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
as we try to round up capital and find people who want to, help support our mission, it's a mission you can get behind.
Right.
If you can build a project that's profitable
Mhm.
and it takes into account all these wonderful things that help make it a healthy, home that's going to be in existence for maybe a century or more. It makes sense to do it, and why wouldn't you? And so
Right.
we're able to sell the idea of, hey, we're not only doing things that are, profit generating, but
Right.
things that are,
Mm.
doing it for the right reason. And so to us, it's a great thing to be able to kind of go out and talk to people about. It really makes the job of, getting people behind your mission and your values much easier.
Mhm.
And so that's a nice feeling. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be not profitable in order to be green. And so it's just about finding that balance.
Well, you just hit the very big question that I have, and I always ask this question to everybody I interview on my podcast. So, in general, the perception of green building or green homes are that it's more expensive. So, how are you finding that to be true from the construction uh, point of view?
Mhm,
I'm hearing from I talk to a lot of developers,
mhm,
and people definitely have this idea that finding green materials and building green is
mhm,
more costly, and especially now during the COVID, as the building materials prices went up. I'm just curious how you found it, and now that you're doing new buildings, new constructions, so to find the right kind of building materials,
mhm,
the paint and the cabinetry, the millwork,
mhm.
how do you find that to be more expensive, or is it easy to build it green and still have enough profit margin?
Yeah. The short answer is yes, it is still possible.
Mhm.
So that's good news.
Yeah.
Um, when you look at basically the comparison approach here, there
Mhm.
are certain things you're never going to be able to get away from. You're still going to have to pay for a foundation. You're still
Yeah.
going to have to pay for framing,
Mhm.
all of the different things that go into a house. And so then there's a small difference between certain facets of that,
Mhm.
which you have to consider. And so what we've always looked for were, cost offsets, right? If we're going to do one thing that's more beneficial, can we do something less that's less beneficial? And
Mhm.
to give you an easy example of that, for instance, we took our exterior walls from 2x4 to 2x6, right? Well, that's a more expensive piece of framing.
Sure.
Uh, but with that being said, when we go to 2x6, we're able to go to 24-inch on center instead of 16 stud
Yeah.
base. So
Mhm.
there's less of them.
Right.
Um, and so we look at that as a cost offset. That's
Mhm.
one simple
Mhm.
example. There is no doubt that there's going to be a little bit more money spent. Uh,
Mhm.
when we wrap the house in exterior foam board to reduce thermal bridging, yeah, that's a little bit more money spent.
Sure.
But when you look at it a percentage of the overall budget, it's really not that much more to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
So when you when you're spending, oh, let's say 5 to 10% more on the budget, when we do our deal analysis before we get into the project, 5 to 10% on the construction costs, well, maybe 10 would be a little less,
Mhm.
happy stomach, but 5% shouldn't make or break your deal. If you're really, if you're running it that tight, you're kind of already treading on thin
Mhm.
ice. And so um, there is no doubt it costs a little bit more money.
Mhm.
Um, but in this market, with the kind of general, I think, perception that the public has and the appreciation for this and
Mhm.
the quality that it gets associated with, and that now people want to seek those homes out, it's still a financially safe endeavor. And so um, it's that balance. And I think that's what I was kind of getting to. Of
Right.
course, we could, maybe make some more money and build it a little bit cheaper, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we've swung the pendulum in too far the other way. And
Right.
then, of course, we could pull out every stop on every single system you could think of,
Mm-hmm.
but then we wouldn't make any money either. And so we wouldn't be in business long to do more
Right.
homes.
Right.
And so it's really finding about how you can install value adds and offset some of those expenses intelligently where
Mm-hmm.
possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's being able to run a business and being able to do things that are beneficial for the community. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
we're fortunate enough to be able to do that here.
Right.
Mhm.
So your products are priced a little bit higher than the comps then to reflect that
Ye-
quality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Our products, and this is kind of one of those, things that I look at with, I don't know, a little bit of wonderment, I suppose. Historically, when you had an appraiser take a look at a home, they needed to be able to look at comparables and say, okay, that solar system is worth $5,000 more. I'm going to assign that value. But renewable energy just wasn't ubiquitous enough for people
Right.
that have that ability to do so,
Right.
right? And so they don't take it into account, right? And so here we come and we build homes, and they're at the top of our market, and rightly so. There's more thought, more love, more systems and things put into these houses. So we sell at a premium rate.
Right.
Um, but now when somebody else who isn't as doing a significant development comes along and says, well, I've got the same amount of square footage and I'm right next door, they can ask for the higher dollar that we're asking for, right? So it's this inverse of
Right.
a problem. And
Right.
so I look at that and I just go, we are putting a lot more effort into the product, but
Mhm.
because of these metrics, other people actually kind of piggyback or ride on those
Right.
laurels a little
Yeah.
bit. And so, I don't think we have a problem making the project profitable, but we kind of look around and go, well, what are we doing here? So, but
Yeah.
the one thing I hope is the differentiating, factor here is as we continue to build more and more quality homes, and the reputation and all the social media that Leanne's doing, which shares all these wonderful features that we're putting into these homes, people get familiar with those terms. People understand what those things
Exactly.
mean.
Hmm.
And so then they start, when they go out home shopping, asking, well, how come you don't have this system in here? And what have
Right.
you guys done to reduce this? And did you guys, all these things that the goal is to have the conversation broaden and
Right.
perhaps one day have the expectation shift where people go, well, you guys didn't make the home net zero, right? You guys didn't make, you know,
Mm,
it built to last 100 years.
Right.
And
Right.
so, and that's a little bit of a paradigm. That's a long game. That's a much
Yeah.
longer. But
Yeah. I mean, because a lot of the things that you put into your homes, like you said, the forms and it's invisible. A lot of the features that are sustainable, they're invisible. You can't, unless you're a builder or you come in with a thermal scan or something, you can't really see it.
that's right.
Like the solar panel, you can see it on the roof, but many of the things that we consider green features are hidden, like invisible. It's behind the walls, behind the ceilings, or below your floor. So I that was that these are always my big questions to ask who are doing
Yeah.
anything green. But
Yeah.
I really appreciate all the insight that you have, and I really like to continue this conversation, into the future. I might have to have you come back. I don't know. Maybe I would like you to do a little video tour of one of your homes that you have built.
that
Yeah.
would be
Right?
great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have so many more questions I want to ask, but my podcast is now I'm out of time, so I'm gonna end here and to be continued. I would love to have you guys back. So thank you
Yes.
so much, and maybe you can tell us where we can find you. What's the website that or Instagram?
Yeah, you can find us at Fortunate Foundations, that's plural with an S on the end, and on all things social media at Fortunate Foundations. And then our website is www.fortunatefoundations.com.
Yes, we can all go and check it out. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I so appreciate it. And until next time. And this
All
is
right.
Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes. Thank you
Pleasure.
so much.
Thank you, Azumi.
Thank you.